It's not possible. I didn't say it would be easy, Neo.
All right, still good morning. The Committee on Parole is reconvening. We are now at Louisiana State Penitentiary. I don't see LSP on this. There they are. Okay. Good morning. Would the folks at Angola please introduce yourselves and Warden, and then ask your staff to do so as well.
Warden Rochelle Ambo.
Reginald Admiral, classification.
Carmen Shipley, offender records. Jody Sargent, program consultant.
Everybody?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And we have Mr. Dupuy. Is that you? Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
You need to tell them your name and DOC number.
My name is Anthony Dupree. My number is 78540.
Yep, I got that. And it's my understanding, Counsel, would you introduce yourself?
I can't understand that she's saying.
That's okay. I'm gonna let them know.
Okay.
Good morning, Board. Adrienne Hutchison, attorney for Louisiana Parole Project here, representing Mr. Dupuy. And as the board can tell, Mr. Dupuy is hard of hearing, so I will most likely have to relay the questions to him for him to respond.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, the record did indicate I was concerned if he was able to do that. So thank you for helping us with that. Let me, I'm going to, for the folks who are here, I'm going to introduce the panel. My name is Cheryl Renassa, serving as chairman today. We do have a 5-member panel. Seated to my far left is Mr. Chucky Tillis. To my immediate left, Ms. Carolyn Stapleton. My immediate right, Mr. Pete Freeman. And to his right is Mr. Danny Barra. So we are the parole panel this morning. I want to recognize the folks who are joining us today. Here with us in the hearing room, we do have law students from both LSU and Southern University Law School, Access to Justice Fellowship Program here observing the proceedings today. We have in support today, we have the Parole Project, Mr. Hunley, Mr. Dupuy's granddaughter, Chelsea Alwell, his daughter, Dawn Jordan, all who will be speaking in support. Also here at headquarters, I think we have Mr. Johnny Dixon, a friend, Mr. Dupuy's niece, Charlene Baker, and Pat Moore, a friend. In opposition today, and Ms. Blaker and Lore are there at Angola. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. And here in support, Amy Dupuy, the victim's niece. I'm sorry, in opposition, I apologize. Kent Norman, in opposition, victim's brother. Michelle Gagnard, who is with Aaron Ducote in the Falls District Attorney's Office, the victim's niece, and Timothy Norman, the victim's son. The victim representatives, let's see, Mr. Norman, Ms. Gagnard, and Ms. Amy Dupuy will all be speaking in support. So first, Ms. Hutchinson, I'll read the identifying information into the record as you or Mr. Dupuy to verify that. The case has been assigned to me. I'll take the lead on the interview. So I'll start the interview questions. Then we'll hear from the folks who are here in support. We'll hear from the victims who indicated they'd like to speak. Then we'll hear if Mr. Dupuy has a statement, and for Ms. Hutchinson's closeout. Then we have the district attorney, Mr. Charles Riddle from Avoyelles Parish, who will close out the hearing for us with his remarks. So Mr. Dupuy is classified as a first felony offender, currently serving a life sentence. He has a sentencing date, November 19, 1974, for a second-degree murder. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. They just read into your sentencing, okay?
And he's serving a consecutive sentence to a previous conviction for manslaughter. So this life sentence began after he completed that sentence. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I would like for Mr. Dupuy to give us an account of what happened in both of those cases. First, we'd like to hear about the manslaughter case.
Okay. They want to talk, they need you to make an account of what happened with the manslaughter case. So Mr. McNeil.
Okay. Now?
Yes, and they can
Okay.
hear you. You can just,
Yeah. I'm not sure what took place on the manslaughter. They found me guilty of manslaughter, but I forgot exactly what happened. I'm not sure what happened, but whatever it is, I take responsibility for it. I'm sorry this happened. It's really not me. If I could undo it, I would.
And
I'm sorry.
okay, as Ms. Hutchinson said, the victim in that matter was Adrian McNeil, and that occurred in June of 1972, I believe.
so they're saying the victim was Mr. McNeil, and that was June of 1972, correct?
Yes, ma'am. It was a cold case.
Okay. And maybe the DA can help us out there at the appropriate time. So for the current conviction, with the current sentence that he's serving time for second-degree murder, we'd like to know about that. What happened there?
They need you to explain what happened on the second-degree murder, Mr. Norman.
Okay. My wife and I were separated. She left home and left our 18-month daughter next door with my brother because they used to babysit for me while I was working. She left and I went out that night. I left my daughter next door with my brother. I went out and I started drinking and I got drunk. I left the bar. I went to my house. My mom had left that day. She left some food on the stove for me. And I was heating it up and somebody pulled up in my driveway. I didn't know who it was. And it was Larry Norman, a friend of mine. He was dating my wife then. They were going out. And he knocked on the door. He banged on the door. He mostly left his way in. We had a big argument. It got really heated. We started screaming at one another. I had a gun on the bar when I got home, next to the telephone. And I told him if he didn't leave, something was going to happen. He ran for the gun. He grabbed the gun. We fell to the floor. I was on his back. He had his hands on the gun. I had my hands on it, and it went off. He fell dead. I went in the bathroom, got a towel, tried to revive him, but he was gone. I left there and went and got a friend of mine to come help me to get rid of him. And he left with him. I don't know where he went with it because I didn't go. I cleaned the kitchen a little bit because I knew Mama was coming that morning. And that was about it. He left a note behind. If I get killed, it's Anthony Dupree who did it. They found the note during the investigation. They held the note out of my hands. I didn't know nothing about it till the day of the trial. And they tried to make me plead on a lesser charge. I wouldn't do it because it happened in my house. I did wrong getting rid of the body. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the families. I heard for them. I know what they're going through. I lost my grandson to violence. He just got out of the military. And his girlfriend killed him. So I know what you're going through. Believe me, I've been going through this my 50 years here. It hurts.
Yeah, let's get to that, Mr. Dupuy. Let's talk about it. So you've been incarcerated for 50 years. Is that accurate?
She said, is it accurate that you've been incarcerated for 50 years?
I think it's 50 or close to it.
And what's your current age?
How old are you?
I'm 79.
I do want to say, obviously, there's opposition in the record, and we'll hear from some of those who are opposed today. I want to just talk a little bit about how Mr. Dupuy has spent the last 50 years. I do notice that he does score out as a low risk on the risk assessment tool that the DOC prepares for us. He has only 9 write-ups in 50 years. The last one, I think, was over 30 years ago. Is that right?
Yes.
He doesn't have a lot of programs, educational programs, but I do notice he was given some credit for his carpenter skills, 410 credits of carpentry skills. And I believe that's probably why he doesn't have a lot of programs, because the institution utilized that skill set. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So the only program I show is victim awareness. Are there others?
Yes, ma'am. He's currently enrolled in victim awareness as of January 24th. And he's also enrolled in anger management, and he completed 100-hour pre-release.
Okay, thank you. And those are all recent programs, right?
The 100-hour pre-release was completed in 2017, Chairman.
Okay, great. I do want to make note too of the various community service work projects that Mr. Dupuy has been involved in, which are included in the record. Ms. Hutchinson provided some great detail on that, and just a tremendous amount of community service work that he's done for the past, probably 30 years.
Yes, they're talking about your community service that you've done.
Okay, what about it?
That you did a lot in 30 years.
What I did?
Yeah, that you've done a lot in your
Yes,
service.
ma'am. When I came to prison, I worked 7 days a week, not because I had to, it's because I wanted to stay busy. I built homes, I built a museum, I built the hearse, the wood horse-drawn hearse, the rodeo wagon. I volunteered for everything. I helped raise money for the children.
Were you involved with the toy shop?
In the toy shop?
Yes, ma'am. I helped build the toy shop. We make 10,000 toys a year donated to them, and bicycles that's refurbished. I like my job. I'm the best at it.
Well, I will say I know your work, so I do think you're very good at it.
She said she remembers your work. You were very good at it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Dupuy, do you currently have a job now? What do you do now?
Do you currently have a job?
No, ma'am. When I had my heart surgery and then went through them kidney stones and all that, I lost 60 pounds. They let me gain my weight back. I'm picking it up. I'm 150 now. I'm doing better, but I'm not working.
So you're focused on your health right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. All right. We'll hear from the opposition shortly. Warden Ambo, is there anything you would like for us to know?
Everything that Anthony told you is correct, and only thing I wanted to put in there that he did try to take his GED, but because of his health, he missed 2 tests on 2 different occasions. But I think that his other work speaks for him. And I don't think he'll, he really don't need the GED. I don't think he's, functional to take it anyway right now because of his hearing,
Thank
but
you.
everything else is good.
Questions? No questions?
I've got one. It's not a question. It's I know that you're an older man now, but you couldn't remember the details of the first murder. And according to the record, the details was that Adrian McNeil was tied up and thrown off a bridge and he drowned. Do you remember that? And it was done with you had a friend named Borderline. The two of y'all were involved in it. Do you remember that one?
She's asking if you remember the details of Mr. McNeil's death. The record shows that he was tied up and he drowned. And you did with Mr. Bertalone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you remember it?
No, ma'am. I don't remember much of it. But I
Okay.
feel the evidence they had was in my favor.
Oh,
They had two investigations going on, one in the Vols Parish where Mr. McNeil was hung, and one in St. Landry Parish where the body was found.
mhm.
My co-defendant testified against me. He said that I
Right.
stopped and I cut some rope and I tied Mr. McNeil up and I put a weight on him and I threw him over the bridge in Simpsport.
That's right.
At court, the hearing, the evidence he had, there was no cut up rope. There was one long rope and there was no weight tied to him. I was not there. I don't know the details of what happened after that.
All right. Okay, and then let's get to, I wanted to ask you about Mr. Normand. Now, do you remember the details of that? Because in the record, it says that he was shot in the head and then, well, of course, Mr. Borderline was involved in that one too. And he says that you made him help dispose of the body. Do you remember any of the details of that? Or that's blank also?
She's asking if you remember the details of Mr. Norman. She said that the record shows he was shot in the head and that Mr. Bordelon assisted with that one.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
He came and got the body in his car and left with it.
All right, that's the end of my questions.
All right, thank you. Will, Mr. Dupuy, did you have a substance abuse problem?
She wants to know, did you have a substance abuse problem at that time, like
No, ma'am.
drinking or drugs?
No, ma'am. I never had anything like that, even to this day. I never used drugs in my system in my life. I drank a beer now and then. I was not a drunk. I have no hang-ups. I don't even drink Cokes to this day.
Okay, thank you, sir. We'll go ahead and listen now to the support. First, we'd like to hear from the Parole Project, Mr. Hundley.
Andrew Hundley with Louisiana Parole Project, appearing before the board today to let the board know that if Mr. Dupuy is granted parole, our organization stands ready to support him with his long-term reentry. That includes programming related to ensure that he has the tools he needs to be successful. Obviously, Mr. Dupuy will be a little different from most of our clients based on his age, his current cognitive state, and his health issues. He's going to need long-term health care. Obviously, you may be aware in the record of his family's ability to assist him with those health care needs. I'll let them speak for themselves. But based on the amount of time that he served and his disciplinary record while incarcerated, our organization feels very comfortable with helping him during his transition, if that's what the board grants, into working with his family to ensure that his long-term needs are met. And I stand ready to answer any questions you may have about his reentry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have Dawn Jordan who's here. Step up to the podium. We'd like to hear from you, please.
Good morning. So my name is Dawn Dupuy Jordan. I'm the daughter of Buford Anthony Dupuy. On behalf of our family, we would like to first thank God for this day. It's one we've anticipated for almost 50 years. Today I stand before you not only as a daughter of the man whose fate lies in your hands, but also as a testament to the power of redemption and change. My father, Buford Anthony Dupuy, is more than a prisoner. He's a man that has shown force, reflection, and genuine commitment to rehabilitation during time in prison. My father deeply understands the severity of his actions and the impact they had on the victim's family, and our family. He carries the weight of mistakes every day, and his desire for redemption is sincere and profound. As his daughter, I have witnessed his remorse and regret and the unwavering commitment to make amends for the wrongs he has committed. My father was incarcerated at age 28. I was less than 2 years old. He is now 79. He's not the same person he was 50 years ago. Throughout his incarceration, my father has actively participated in self-improvement and rehabilitation. He has been a mentor to other inmates by providing guidance and teaching carpentry skills. He has also done many building projects that benefited the prison. These changes are also evident in the fact that he hasn't had any write-ups in over 31 years and very few during his incarceration. He has shown unwavering determination to transform his life, and I know he will contribute positively to society. My vision is for my father to be granted parole, come live with me, where he will have a permanent, stable residence. I am a nurse. My daughters are nurses. I can get the help that he needs, and I will take care of my father. My family is well established in our community. I built my home 25 years ago in Grant Parish, Louisiana. We are working with the Louisiana Parole Project to guarantee the smooth transition into society and to provide continued support of granted parole. I will take full responsibility of paying all probation and parole fees. I've spoke to the probation and parole officers. I know exactly what they expect, and I'm willing to go above and beyond to take care of those fees. I have spoken to the sheriff of Grant Parish. He's a personal friend of mine, Sheriff Stephen McCain. He wrote a letter to the board. He has given my father the opportunity to become a mentor at the Grant Parish Detention Center. Will be a mentor at his facility. I think my dad wants to give back to the community, tell the story, and help change the lives of other ones. Granting my father parole is not merely an act of mercy, it's acknowledgement of his humanity, potential for change, and his capacity to contribute positively to society. I truly believe every individual deserves a second chance. I ask you to consider not only the seriousness of his past actions, but also the depth of remorse, the sincerity of his transformation, the potential for him to lead a meaningful life, a law-abiding life. I respectfully request the parole board members to please give my father parole. I want to personally thank you all for your time, your effort, and your dedication.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your remarks. And we have Chelsea Alwell, who's.
Yes, ma'am. This is Chelsea Alwell. I'm the grandfather of Anthony Dupuy. I'm here today to support his release. I'm 34 years old. I've been visiting my grandfather since I was born. I have great memories with my grandfather growing up at the Angola rodeos. He has made a very positive impact in my life and also my family's life. We have a great relationship. He's always supported me and my family. We would all be grateful to have him home to spend the remainder of his life with him. I do feel that my grandfather has acknowledged his mistakes and he has always been remorseful. He has expressed great sadness and guilt over the years. I have personally witnessed his growth and rehabilitation. I believe he has the ability to successfully integrate into society and lead a law-abiding life if he is granted parole. My family are being proactive, and I are being proactive at his as his support team to assist in any possible way to make the transition as smooth as possible. I will support him if he is released from prison by being there by his side with any assistance, needs, or desires. Spend time with him, provide emotional support, assist with transportation and any medical needs. I know his medical condition, has declined. He's had heart problems, kidney stones. I am a registered nurse and I will be there to assist with anything that I can. He has been given the opportunity by our sheriff here, Stephen Kane, to become a mentor at the Grant Parish Detention Center. And he has expressed dedication and determination to, give back to the community in any way possible that he can. I do understand that y'all, as the parole board, y'all have difficult responsibilities in evaluating each case thoroughly and making decisions that impacts the lives of others. Please consider my words as I stand before you today. I plead for my grandfather's release. I ask that you see beyond the mistakes of the past and recognize the person he has become today. A person committed to growth, redemption, and contributing positively to society. Please consider the progress he has made, the support that he has in place today. I ask for your compassion and mercy in granting him this chance for redemption. I want to end this by saying thank you for this opportunity and your consideration.
Well, thank you, and thank you. You're obviously at work, so thank you for taking the time to speak with us this week. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank y'all.
Okay, so at this time, we'll ask for Mr. Dupuy's remarks, and then we'll ask Ms. Hutchinson for her presentation. Mr. Dupuy?
They're asking for your closing remarks.
Okay. I want to say thank you for this here and for giving me a chance at this. I know this is not an easy decision to make when it comes to declining whether or not you're going to be let a free man that's been in prison for 50 years back into society. I'd like you to take into consideration that I'm not the same person. I regret the crime I committed. I'm very remorseful for that I've done. I spent 50 years of my life in prison. I wish I would have taken the time to think before acting. I regret the hurt and pain that I caused you, that I caused the victims and my families and their family. I like the board to know that I've learned from my mistakes in the past. I accept full responsibility for something at a young age. I made a bad decision that cost me, cost you, and cost us your life. I made a bad choice. I regret the hurt I did everyone. I apologize for that. I'd like to take into consideration, even though you don't personally know me, I'd like you to look at my prison record, my history here in prison. I have few write-ups, no write-ups in 31 years. Look at how I've helped others and their struggle and given them knowledge, teaching them trades, getting to know them personally, and being a mentor to many. We try to help each other in here. That's what life's about, and doing the best you can with what you've got, with what you've given. I'd like you to know that I'm not the same person that I was 50 years ago. I was 28 years old when I committed these crimes. I have positive changes. I'd like you to know I have health problems. I have heart surgery and severe internal issues. I'd like the board to take into consideration plans I live with my family that are very supportive of me. I won't be back here. I have a plan to continue helping others and to participate in prison if I'm released. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity you have given me today. I am sorry for everything. I wish I could change it. It hurts to this day. Every day. It hurts. And I'm sorry. I can't change it. Please find a way to forgive me in your heart.
Thank you, Mr. Dupuy. Ms. Hutchinson?
Thank you for speaking with us today and your time and patience with Mr. Dupuy. We know hearings with our older men often have different challenges. So thank you, board, for that. I want to make it clear that Tony isn't here today to argue any facts of the crime or to discredit the hurt and the pain the crimes have caused. I think it's evident that Mr. Dupuy wholeheartedly regrets his actions and is truly remorseful for the pain he caused. And at 78 years old, I asked, or 79,
79.
I asked the board that if Mr. Dupuy's details were foggy and at times all over the place, to blame it on his mind, not his heart. He's had, several bouts with medical issues, and he's 79 years old. But just as Mr. Dupuy has just become overcome with emotions today, this has been his sentiment the entire time we've worked together. I believe that it's clear from Mr. Dupuy's that he recognized his life had spiraled too far and that he did not want his time in prison to be reflective of his past and the person he was that caused him to come to prison. We know this because Mr. Dupuy comes before the board with an impeccable disciplinary record, with only 9 write-ups in almost 50 years and the last one over 30 years ago. We know this from his extensive volunteer work, because as long as Mr. Dupuy was healthy and able to work, he did, working his regular prison job and volunteering 7 days a week for various volunteer jobs. And while my brief discusses many of his various contributions to Louisiana State Penitentiary, neither Mr. Dupuy nor the many people here who he has worked with have been able to keep track and account for all the various projects that he's done. And I won't go through those because Ms. Renata did read them into the record already. But I wanted to recognize that with each job was an extreme level of trust. He's been trusted for most of these volunteer assignments to live at various work sites on the compound with low supervision or venture out past the prison walls to accomplish these goals. Mr. Dupuy established a record of trust and accountability, showing that he would not pose a threat to public safety if he was to return to society. He has a low Tiger score, which indicates he's a low risk of recidivism. One of the main factors attributing to this is Mr. Dupuy's age. At 79 years old, he's past the age where continued criminal activity is statistically likely. It's at almost a 0. Furthermore, Mr. Dupuy has substantial health concerns, having already had quadruple bypass surgery in 2017, multiple bouts with kidney stones, and ongoing treatment for proctitis. And of course, his hearing loss and other ailments that come with advanced age. As my brief discussed, continuing to imprison Mr. Dupuy, an elderly, low-risk, aging offender with considerable medical issues who is no longer a threat to society, will cost the state over $90,000 annually. Mr. Dupuy embodies what parole is about: remorse, rehabilitation, maturity, and accountability, and a release that poses no threat to the community. Even when his original sentence of life with the possibility of parole after 20 years was taken away through legislation, he stayed the course, being a better man, continuing to help and serve. And when the parole was reinstated through legislation, and now he needed to complete 40 years before his parole eligibility, he again just worked, volunteered, and continued to help others until his age and helped slow them down. Mr. Dupree's reentry plan is solid. He has the full support of the Louisiana Parole Project. He has a home with his daughter and granddaughter, who are both nurses, available to help maintain his healthcare needs. He won't be returning to Avoyelles Parish, but rather going to the community where his daughter has close ties, where the sheriff has welcomed him to come speak at his detention center, where he believes Mr. Tony's story would provide a positive impact to deter those headed down the wrong path. In closing, and in consideration of Mr. Dupree's remorse, rehabilitation, age, his continued health issues, his extensive volunteer work and service to others, his impeccable institutional record, and looking at the 79-year-old man he is today after almost 50 years of incarceration, we respectfully ask you give Mr. Dupree a second chance with any restrictions this board feels necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate that presentation. So at this time, we'll hear from the opposition. First, we have with us here, Mr. Norman.
Hi, my name is Michelle Norman Gaia. I'm going to be
from Timothy first. I'm sorry. We're going to hear from Timothy first. He's here with us in Baton Rouge. Go ahead, sir.
I'm going to speak today. Speak up a little bit. My father was taken from me when I was 8 years old, and have lived for the last 50 years. And I've really had the opportunity to spend childhood growing up without my dad. And now as an adult, I can see my father again because of the cold blooded killer that killed my father. There was no accident. And I would rather you deny this chance of this guy ever getting out of prison.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for being here today. And now let's see, we have, do we have Amy Dupuy?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Amy Norman Dupuy. No relation to the Dupuy family here. I am the niece of Larry Norman. My father, Emil Norman Jr., was the oldest Norman sibling. He passed away in 2003, and I'm here today speaking on his behalf. I was only 6 years old when my Uncle Larry was murdered. I don't remember him very well, and I don't remember a great deal around the time he was murdered, but I do remember the devastating effect it had on my father, his siblings, my grandmother, and the entire Norman family. As the eldest of 7 children, my father had to identify my uncle's body when it was found. My grandmother couldn't do it, and my grandfather had passed away many years before. Identifying his brother's body disturbed my father for a very long time. I remember overhearing my parents talking about my uncle being shot execution style. At 6 years old, I didn't really know what that meant or why there was a hole in his cheek. I later learned what it meant, and that the hole in his cheek was the exit wound from being shot in the back of the head. My daddy and his siblings were always very close, even through adulthood, and the murder of their brother changed their family and their lives forever. Larry was a musician like my father, and I remember him and my grandmother listening to Larry's music and crying. My uncle was murdered at the age of 31 over a woman, shot in the back of the head, and then dumped like trash. It was not an impulsive crime of passion, as Anthony Dupuy had also murdered my best friend's father, Adrian McNeil, for a different reason prior to killing my uncle. On behalf of my father and the Norman family, I respectfully ask that you deny parole. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing those remarks with us. Ms. Gagnard?
Morning. My name is Michelle Norman Gaia. I am the daughter of Kent Norman. I will be speaking on his behalf today. He is the last living surviving sibling of Mr. Larry Norman. We are requesting that Mr. Dupuy remain in the Louisiana State Penitentiary for the duration of his sentence, life in prison, for the brutal death of Larry. Myself, the extended family members, friends, and the community would appreciate this decision to allow them to feel safe and secure. Larry was the 6th, and my father was the 7th of the children in their family. Because of their age and gender, they were very close. Larry did not deserve the actions Mr. Dupuy took against him. He had a lot of good years left to live and memories to make with his family. The family missed him terribly. Larry was an outstanding musician, playing instruments and singing in his own band, Larry and the Diamonds. He enjoyed entertaining large crowds that he attracted with both English and French songs. Quite often when Larry played, Mr. Dupuy would come and stand in front of the bandstand, staring him down, trying to intimidate him. Mr. Dupuy believed that Larry was dating his estranged wife. On July 2nd, 1974, Mr. Dupuy came to Larry's house and a fight between them occurred. Mr. Dupuy kidnapped him and brought him back to his home, where he leaned him over a bathtub and shot him in the back of the head with a 9mm pistol. Mr. Dupuy's friend, Mr. Jesse Bordelon, assisted in loading him up and was to take his body to dump in the river. Mr. Bordelon instead dumped Larry's body down a local back road known for dumping trash, where he was found 2 days later by a young boy. The day he was found was July 4th, and to this day, my father is unable to celebrate this holiday as other people can because of this extreme tragedy. A note, as it has been said, was found at Larry's house that if I am killed, Anthony Dupuy is the one who did it. Again, we are asking on behalf of Larry's family that Mr. Dupuy remain incarcerated and pay for the trauma he has caused so many people. Thank you for hearing us.
And thank you for speaking with us this morning. And now we have the district attorney, Mr. Riddle.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman, and to members of the board. I appreciate the opportunity. Hopefully, y'all received the email enclosing the letter that was written by Eddie No, who was the prosecutor at the time for both cases, the previous one and the one that we're here for today. Without Jesse Bordelon, neither of these cases would have been solved. Jesse Bordelon was a key witness in the case. And I did send a copy of the letter that Eddie No had written, a 2-page letter, November 22nd, 1977, where he stated the facts of both cases and what actually happened. Now, I know that Mr. Dupuy has said that he has no memory of the first homicide, and I believe his facts of the second one are contrary to the testimony at the trial. And I want to read just a portion of the testimony. When Sheriff Didier, who was the sheriff at the time, was interrogating Mr. Dupuy, he asked him why did he want to give a statement. And the response, and this is on page 3 of the original transcript, he said he just wanted to get it off his consciousness. And on the next page asked about, why, and he said, well, he had been reading the Bible and he had read approximately 50 pages and he decided he wanted to tell his story. Then when describing the incident, he said he took the body, meaning Mr. Dupuy, took the body, put it in the back seat of his Volkswagen, drove to Bayou de Lac, which is a bayou in a Balls Parish, on Luke Martin Road, and threw the body over the side of the bridge. Yes, he had Jesse with him, but he did it. All right, did he tell you, the question by Mr. No, did he tell you what he did after he had thrown the body over the bridge of Bayou de Lac? Yes, this is the sheriff. I asked him, I said, what did you do with the towel? Because after he had shot after he shot Mr. Norman, he wrapped the towel around his head. And the sheriff asked him, what did you do with the towel? He said, I threw the towel in with the body. That's a direct quote from the sheriff interrogating Mr. Dupuy as soon as they found the body. Then he said he got in the back of the car. This is the sheriff continuing. And he came back up the Luke Martin Road until he came to the Bunkie-Hessman intersection. Then he made a right turn and he went again to Bayou de Lac and he threw the pistol in Bayou de Lac. There's several interesting things about this. Number one, in both homicides, the body was concealed so that it would not be found. Secondly, these two people who were victims of the homicide were social friends with Mr. Dupuy. Yet he felt it necessary for him to hide both bodies, conceal it from the family, and cause this tragic situation. There's a big difference between forgiveness in a biblical sense and setting somebody free. The families can forgive, but it doesn't mean they want him free. We're asking that he continue to remain in custody. His testimony today is unbelievable that he doesn't remember the first one, and the second one is contrary to the testimony at the trial. I ask, as the district attorney of Falls Parish now, that he be denied parole.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We appreciate your participation today.
Thank you.
Is the panel prepared to vote? Mr. Tillis?
Yes. Oh, we're
Yeah,
voting.
we're voting now.
I vote to deny.
Mrs. Stapleton?
I vote to deny also based upon the violent nature of the crime.
And Mr. Freeman?
I vote to deny because he was involved in two different killings, law enforcement and victim opposition, and a very selective member.
Mr. Byron?
Vote for the same reasons stated by Mr. Pete Freeman.
All right,
To deny.
Mr. Dupree, you've received 4 votes to deny your petition for parole today. As you know, it requires a unanimous vote, so the outcome of today's proceeding is that your parole is denied. Ms. Hutchinson, will you explain that to him?
Yes, ma'am.
Warden, that concludes our business at
Voted to deny.
adjourned. It's 11:43.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and the parole board.